What would you know of demons? Such talk is unwise at the best of times. Yes, it is true that as a scholar I do know quite a bit on the subject of demonology. It is also true that I have had to suffer allegations of heresy, despite the fact that my knowledge has proven vital to the workings of the Order of the Silver Hammer and the Black Chamber. To even delve into such things is to risk damnation, you understand. So I would argue that someone such as yourself is better knowing as little as possible. I suppose, though, I could address some of your concerns, though. No harm in that. The many foul minions of the ruinous powers are certainly a great danger to the Empire and our very souls. But you are unlikely to encounter them in your lifetime. Most lesser demons cannot simply ravage the countryside as they please, thankfully. No, they can only truly have a hold on our world when the winds of magic flow too high and will break the seams between our world and theirs. They are invaders, after all, and most lesser demons cannot remain in our world for long. Whilst you may fear otherwise, I can assure you the righteous hammer of a devout war priest, or the silvered blade of a witch hunter, or even the arcane bolts of a wizard can dispatch most foes absolutely fine, if you have the knowledge. Granted, it's not truly possible to ever kill a demon for good, but that is another matter entirely. So again, don't worry yourself. As long as you stay away from such things, I assure you, the Emperor and the Empire's armies will keep you safe. Have faith in Sigma. This is Red Moon Role-Playing. The dark of the night and the gloom and the fog that came from the river have dispelled by the morning. It is now bright, and the streets are full of life and activity. The second day of the Schaffenfest is underway, and Siegfrieda, Kruger, and Heinrich, even though you've had a rather unpleasant sleep, you do at least wake in a safe place in an inn, and you are alive, at least for now. The question is, what will you do next? What do you do, Kruger, as you awaken in the morning and see the light of day on the streets of Bogenhafen?
We're still alive. That's good. I try to think back to the day before. Did all that really happen? It wasn't just all part of the bad dreams that I were dreaming. I look to my companions. We are in the same room, yes?
Indeed.
All that stuff happened, right? That thing, it was real, wasn't it? It wasn't just a bad dream.
Heinrich, who has woken up slightly before dawn to go through some basic flexibility and centering rituals, just nods. Unfortunately, yes, I believe so. We are talking about the multi-mouthed, screaming-voiced demon, right?
That's the one, yes. Difficult to get that one out of my mind. Now what to do? We're going to be meeting with the magistrate. We need to tell them the truth, right? I mean, if there's some kind of evil chaos thing living underneath the city, well, surely someone must go and deal with it. I mean, obviously, we couldn't quite do it ourselves, but perhaps some of the brave city guards can handle it, or one of those Black Chamber people, or someone like that.
Well, I suppose it depends entirely, and at this point I'm stepping into a broad forward lunge. What you think the odds are they'll blame us for it, and go solve the problem after they string us up from the nearest gallows.
Yeah, there is that, isn't there? But if we don't act, isn't that also our responsibility?
I will join the two of you at this point. Good morning.
Morning.
Contemplating our great confession.
Yeah, I know what the smart thing to do is for us. To just go with what you said, you know? It makes perfect sense. But that thing is still down there.
You didn't tell us, I suppose we didn't have the chance. What, if anything, happened after we left? Obviously, Heinrich is the fastest runner among us. I smile at Heinrich. and I followed shortly thereafter, leaving you with the beast, and it still took some minutes for you to catch up with me. Did you strike a blow against it?
I wish I could have, but I just looked at it and I knew that there was no way that we were going to be able to do anything against it, and especially not me by myself. But it didn't seem to be interested in fighting. It wanted me to come closer. It spoke to me. It knew my name. It offered me riches, knowledge, gold, everything I wanted. It must have been able to read my mind, or known who I was. I don't know, but that was when I ran.
Well, just imagine if it had taken a more appealing form.
Yeah. I just shake my head. So that's the thing. Someone else might get into trouble. Might die. You know, this thing might escape. And, well, we could have let someone know about it.
As always, I'm weighing up our options. Neither one looks particularly good. But it wasn't that long ago that I was speaking about us acting with more, I guess, conscience and valor.
Oh, and unfortunately the Codo Duello says that you are correct. If I'm going to live by the tenets of my profession, I will have to join you on the sacrificial altar of honesty.
Beautifully put, Heinrich.
I just tapped the book next to me. Obviously not my idea. Not words coming out of me.
I didn't know you could read.
Where I come from, this kind of honesty, you know, we couldn't really afford that. But this is a choice now. And maybe someone like me might get into trouble, you know? Someone sneaking around, trying to get away, trying to make a living, and they're in the sewers because that's a place to hide, right? And then they'll die. They'll be torn to pieces by that thing. That would be on me.
Yes. I think the fact of the matter is, while flight from here seems very much appealing, it does not rid us of the problem that you do still resemble a chaotic party. I say that with a lowered voice. And who knows how long it will be before Inquisitors are on our heels again. Better to present ourselves to the magistrate, talk about the goblin first of all, but then follow up by saying we have been repeatedly accosted by these purple hands, and that and an Inquisitor who had mistaken your identity for this Liberung fellow. I think it's time for us to play with an open hand, because even though we can't stop necessarily people with chaotic agendas, we can at least get the law maybe on our side by being honest with them. Or they might throw us in jail, but I think we should at least give it a try.
I suppose so. I think that's what we have to do.
And hey, if nothing else, I will say finally leaving the pose, we're not going to be able to run very far without the magistrate's money.
That's true.
Yes, it will be interesting to see how much of that, if any, we get. But yes, I think it's early as it is. It's time for us to propose a toast to honour, conscience, and valour. We are trying our best, aren't we?
Yeah, we're real heroes. No, but it's the right thing to do. So, cheers to that.
Just tipping a rye glass. Yes, to doing our best.
What do the three of you then do as you leave the Journey's End Inn?
Well, I intend to dress in my finest. I've been wearing dirty travelling clothes since I arrived here, so it's now time to actually appear as a somewhat clean physician. I know that I'm approaching the level of knowledge required to leave the ranks of an apprentice, and finally practice under my own steam. So, looking the part is part of that role. And so I make myself presentable before waiting in the street for my companions, or if they are already there, I will accompany them to the magistrate's office.
Yes, I too will dress up as nicely as I can. We are meeting an official after all.
I always look immaculate. I don't need to change anything.
And where exactly do you go? Remember, the magistrate's office would probably be in the town hall, but you were told that he's currently actually working at the Schaffenfest in a tent.
That's where we'll need to go.
Then you will head once again into the din and merriment of the Schaffenfest. It is even more lively today. There are performers, jugglers, flame dancers. Quite good, actually. A dwarven one and an elven one working together to create quite the spectacular show in the middle of the Schaffenfest. You'll also notice once again those medicine tents from the other day, Siegfrieda. You never got round to getting to them in the end, but they're still there. Lots of interesting tinctures and things that could interest someone of the physician's career. But of course, the three of you for now are focused and head to find the magistrate's tent. It is a large tent that has been set up in the middle of the Schaffenfest. You were there just the other day. In the middle of the day, it does seem like it's quite busy. You are actually told you have to wait. And 5 minutes pass, and then two individuals are let out of the tent, one of them with a large black eye. Clearly, a dispute was just settled. But you are led into the tent. You will notice one of the guards is that old man from last night. He looks at you very solemnly, Siegfrieda, and just sort of turns his gaze away. You notice the other guard sort of give him a look and say, "Yes, who's calling?"
I look to my companions. I guess we go by our actual names.
Yes, we do. It's Hoffman, Siegfrieda, and Heinrich.
There's a little bit of jostling around, and you are led once again to the back, where you see the magistrate from the other day, Magistrate Richter. Again, quite a large middle-aged man, deep shadows under his eyes, looks very tired. He gestures for you to sit at a desk, looks up and says, "Oh, yes, you three. Oh, terribly sorry. We did send someone to look for you. I understand. It's all quite irritating, but obviously, I tell you what, if you go down to the town hall, I put in a word, they will reimburse you at least a gold crown for your troubles, even though, in the end, you were not able to find the goblin, of course."
Well, we did find the goblin. He had just been torn to pieces.
No, you must be confused, my dear. I understand. It was a tiring night. No, we found the goblin. The guardsman found him at the warehouse, just an hour after we last spoke. But I do understand that... Wait, what do you mean you found the goblin? No, you didn't.
We followed a bloody trail through the bloody sewer all the way to his bloody remains.
I see. So how come the goblin was found elsewhere, crushed under a crate?
Maybe there's more than one goblin in this town.
More than one three-legged goblin?
Well, I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, he cut himself in half, and the half that was still moving crawled out of the sewer to get crushed by a cart on the surface. But what is not in question, and my friends and I aren't given to deception, I say through clenched teeth, was we found the bodily remains of a goblin at the end of a trail of blood that started where we were set to follow. And if you doubt that, then that's fine. But for our time, we are owed more than a crown. For the danger that we were put in, we are owed more than a crown. And I would say for the danger that we need to explain to you, which is far greater than some errant goblin being on the loose, well, we are owed protection, and your town needs to take action to, what would be the best way to put it? Put out a fire that's burning underneath these very streets.
Kruger or Heinrich, would either of you like to make an intuition roll?
Happy to give it a shot.
That is 2 levels of failure.
I'm 26 under 44, so 2 success levels?
Kruger, Siegfrieda is really selling this. This is good. You can tell. You've got this guy on the ropes, and you think any minute now he's going to have to give you a lot of coin. After all, she's saying he has to give her coin, which makes perfect sense. Heinrich, you're confused because Siegfrieda is normally very intelligent, but the man's expression seems to be getting more and more dour, especially every time she mentions the cost of. For some weird reason, you don't actually think Siegfrieda is winning this person over. The man in question waits for Siegfrieda to finish and remarks quietly, yes, and remind me, you are a lawyer from... Which city are you from again? Where you're a lawyer, madam?
There's no need to be facetious.
Oh, I see. No, I'm sorry, but you were just demanding payment for several things, and here I am thinking maybe in a minute I'm going to throw you in the stocks.
I apologise. Bedside manner isn't my forte.
It clearly isn't. Now let's get one thing straight. You say you found the body. Wonderful, then please present it. Evidence, naturally, will prove your claims over the other individual who actually had evidence.
Could we borrow 2 of your guards, maybe?
You need them to bring the body in?
I look to Kruger and Heinrich. Do you want me to explain what we found down there, or would one of you wish to...
No one needs to explain anything.
I wasn't addressing you, magistrate. I was talking to my companions.
Heinrich, you notice that it looks like the magistrate is about to summon guards into the room, but maybe if you intervene, you might be able to save face. What do you do?
Oh, I'm right on that. The only thing that I want to make sure is that we're going to say the C word, that we're all on the same page. Sir, I of course understand your prerogatives, many as they are in this moment, but what my friend is declining to expand on in the case there are ears around who may not want to hear the kind of terrible, lascivious rumors about what may or may not be brewing under the city.
Listen here, young man. Heinrich, is it? It's quite simple. If you have the evidence that you have found the goblin that the other citizens of the town claim they have found, you can bring it in. Then there is no need for further discussion. Why aren't you doing that?
I will extend my hand to Siegfrieda with the understanding that she will hand me the candle.
Yeah, I'm not completely dim to these cues. I will pass you the candle and its stick.
And I will present both of these things just plainly in front. I'm not sure you entirely understand the gravity of what we had to face or might be waiting beneath. Now, if you'd like to have a loud argument about this here, where the common citizenry might be able to hear beside this, or perhaps have folks shouting it into the air as guards haul us out, then by all means, be the magistrate who caused that kind of chaos in this city. Or we can discuss this as ladies and gentlemen among ourselves and reach an equitable tolling.
The man begins to rub at a vein in his head. He looks at the candlestick. He says very calmly, "All right, I'm going to explain your situation very clearly. Here's what's happened. You were hired to find a goblin in a sewer. You failed. The goblin was found. I'm now hearing you coming into my temporary office in attempting to threaten me and cause me dismay, a story you've made up of finding a goblin somewhere else. You don't have any evidence, so you seem to be... I don't know what the meaning of this candlestick is, and I am very close to telling the town hall, instead of giving you any money at all, which I was actually quite happy to provide, instead I'm thinking of having you thrown in the public gallery and having tomatoes pelted at you. Now, you understand that all you have to do is present evidence to me, a magistrate, and all that will not happen. But until it does, I'm getting more and more angry with this extremely cheeky young woman."
I understand completely. I apologize for wasting your time. My companions, perhaps we should proceed to the town hall and talk about how we tried to warn the city about a grave threat underneath it. But we're being held up and dismissed by someone who perhaps isn't interested in seeing that problem solved for reasons that inquisitors might want to look into, and I want to try to intimidate him.
Please do it at -20.
Oh, this is one of those moments where I feel, honestly, like I want to spend one of my decide what I roll points. Because I've rolled a 97, and with that penalty, it's going to be very difficult to hit that. But this guy has pissed me off, and I am willing to make that spend.
Then spend yourself a point of resilience.
I will spend my resilience point. I would like to roll an 11 on this prick.
Then you do. You realize that you're not going to actually intimidate him. Not really. But maybe if you just keep saying more and more damning things, he'll listen. You do also realize that part of the problem that's happening here is that you aren't actually explaining what's happened. And also, why does he keep saying the goblin was found? He keeps saying that.
I was under the impression that he just was ignoring what we were saying, but all the same, Heinrich's an idiot, and I hate this guy, so I'm fine. Once he has come around to it, I will lower my voice now that we have his attention, we've walked him off the edge, and say, "You're right, we don't have evidence of a goblin that we found, nor do we have evidence of the demon that consumed this goblin. We were attempting to discuss it as equitable friends in a city that has great need of solving this problem. I'm sorry it came to this. Perhaps now we can speak a little more friendly between us. And you may be more willing to hear the expertise that my, what did you say? My young lady friend brings to the table."
Cheeky.
Well, yes, you are cheeky. In your line of work, if I came into your physicians and started yelling at you, treat me, treat me, treat me, and then you told me that's not how it works, it costs money, and I continued to then insult you, would you treat me?
I swore an oath that I would treat anyone, no matter how pompous, officious, or bureaucratic. So yes, I would treat you.
I am sick and tired of all... Fine, okay, so what demon? A goblin ate the demon, that's your story. A demon ate the goblin that we found in the warehouse.
Yes, it happened that way round.
And not just any demon, mind you. And I will explain, hoping that the details of this creation are at least, if not persuasive, then continue the conversation, describing the ritual chamber that we found and those kinds of things.
He squints. He sighs. What is it? First of all, why didn't you open with that, rather than just berating me with insults? Second of all, what are you actually talking about? So you're telling me that when we found this goblin in a warehouse crushed under a crate with half its leg presented to me, that actually it was in the sewers, and there's a demon, and the demon ate the goblin, and then you ran up here to tell us that, and you know what? I'm willing to believe that you've all just gone mad. Maybe that explains the rudeness of this girl.
Oh no, you'll come to find the more time you spend with her that she's just direct. And sir, I can't speak to whatever kind of perfidy has been affected upon you by the people who claim to find a goblin. But if I recall, the last time the goblin was seen was being chased into the sewers where we pursued, and you can do your own math about how it might have ended up in whatever warehouse crushed under whatever else, and I'm sure a magistrate is familiar with law and the vagaries of criminality as you...
He holds up a finger. If you say one more thing in that tone, young man, you are all going to be flogged. Start again with something called politeness.
I thought you were being very polite.
I give her that look, like, I know, right? All I mean to say, sir, is that there are plenty of reasons someone might come and give you a false tale of finding a goblin bone, and who among us has the expertise to determine one bone from another? I can speak to you as a man of honor, and I will not doff my cap, because I would never wear it inside, but I will make some kind of dueling gesture, that we would not attempt to pull something over. We're happy to speak with it to whoever needs to hear the story and provide whatever details we can before summoning the guards and such.
Well, at this moment in time, the only reason I haven't done that is because your story is so outlandish that I don't understand why you'd... unless this was some sort of joke to see how quickly you could get arrested.
Wouldn't be a very funny joke in that case, I say.
No, it would not be. And you are very lucky I am here and not Magistrate Bogenhafen, because Bogenhafen would have already had you flogged. Right, okay.
Perhaps the easiest thing would be to simply show the the location, show what we found down there. I mean, I know the story sounds unbelievable, but there's really no other reason for us to say it if it wasn't true. We're really worried about what it might mean for the city. Someone might get into trouble. That thing, it might get loose.
The man gives Kruger a bit of a look, and he eyes Heinrich and Siegfrieda before nodding. Well, at least one of you has some manners. Yes, young man, you are correct. If this is true, it does need to be investigated. So, alright, you're telling me you can lead some men back to a demon. You can find a demon in the sewers.
I can at least show you where we found it, and the chamber, the ritual things that have been set up there. If they're still there, we should be able to show you, yes. Hopefully no one has gone in to clear it up.
Alright, I'm going to give you a platoon of men. You will go and find this evidence. I'm going to go immediately to the town hall. I'm going to talk to whichever councilman or attendants, and we shall discuss this matter properly. There, if you are telling the truth. Please, for the love of Sigma, be telling the truth. If this is a joke, I am not amused.
No. We also very much hope that we will be able to provide evidence here. I realize that we might be in trouble otherwise.
He makes to stand and summons some men in. One of them is that old guard from earlier, but 4 more men are summoned in as well. For the moment, you're going to go with these individuals and investigate this matter in the sewers. You are to be extremely careful, not endanger yourselves. I'm going to go to the town hall now. I'm going to inform the watch captain, and we will get this sorted out. And again, please, he looks at you, Heinrich, do not go round randomly shouting in the streets that there is a demon under us. You are correct. That would indeed cause great dismiss. Again, I was only hostile because you came in here acting insane and rude.
I apologize for any misunderstanding, Magistrate, and I assure you, I will cause no further harm to this city.
And in the future, young lady, a bit of advice. The next time you walk up to a magistrate and begin demanding things from them, be aware that as a... Are you even a citizen of Bogenhafen?
I look over at the quivering old guard. And then I look back to the magistrate. Well, by birth, I'm sure there's a record with my name on it.
Do you have a lawyer?
I can't say I've ever had cause to enlist one.
Well, remember next time that I could easily have legally sentenced you to a public flogging, at least for your insults. You should know imperial law by now. You do not accost magisters the way you did. I'm going to forgive you this time, because apparently you've had a bad night.
You truly are merciful.
And he vacates the tent, heading off to the town hall apparently. Meanwhile, the older man comes to you and the other 4 guards just nod and say, "Alright, you heard the magistrate then, I guess we're following you, lead the way."
I'll begin taking the lead. Alright. Hopefully we will find this thing, and you will have your weapons at the ready. What we saw, it was it's not something you can forget very easily.
What happens next? Do all 3 of you lead this platoon of guards back to the sewers? Or do you do something else? You tell me. What do you do?
I can't think of a reason that we would need to separate at this moment, although I will mention, I presume to Siegfrieda, since Kruger is in the lead, 2 things. 1, just starting off on a wry note, what do you suppose they're going to do to us if we get there and the ritual's been cleaned up and it's an empty room?
One thing that would spring to mind, Siegfrieda, is nothing immediately. It's not like you're going to be arrested immediately in a sewer. They would walk you out of the sewers and probably not do anything. These are just guards, after all. They don't have any authority.
Yes, it's just the magistrate may seek reprisals against us, but I think he would probably be happiest just being rid of us if he thinks we're liars. We would probably have to forfeit that single crown we were going to earn.
Well, on the bright side, maybe we can wring it out of that circus professor man. I think I know where the other bone came from and why he was so eager to keep the law out of it.
I'm sure Dr. Malpheus would be more than happy to entertain our accusations. The main issue is he's clearly a well-beloved ringmaster circus slaver about this place. And our word against his, no matter how ridiculous he might look, I don't know. We could certainly try squeezing him for some coin, but all we ultimately have on him is that he keeps a goblin as a slave, which isn't going to engender much sympathy from the people of Bogenhafen, and that slave got killed. I doubt he had anything to do with the chaos creature that we encountered.
For the moment, as you're thinking these things over, you begin leading the platoon of guards back into the sewers. Everything is much quicker this time and far less intimidating. You, after all, this time have a bunch of armed individuals with you. It doesn't take long, maybe another hour, to get them in the sewers and lead them to that door. There's a moment of hesitation as all the guards kind of reach for their clubs and sort of eye this door under the ground. You're leading the way, Heinrich. You once again are at the door. In the sewers, what do you do?
I've got an ear out the entire time. Not necessarily for threats, but the closer we get, the more nervous I am about getting down here and finding nothing. But aside from that, I will not just make a show of being ready and armed. I remember what that thing looked like, and I am terrified. So, as we approach the door, I think I'll actually explain the warning, saying now, if you see purple smoke or hear giggling, that's the time to run, that this is what happened to us, and so on and so forth. And then, with, I suppose, Ursat's bravery, just enough to look cool in front of the guys, I will throw the door open and pray to Sigmar that there's still some form of evidence here.
You open the door and see nothing. A cleanly scrubbed floor, an empty stone chamber, and there's a cabinet at the end that has been left open now. And that is all you see.
Was that cabinet there before?
It was closed. Last time, locked, but it is now wide open. Barrels are gone as well, Kruger.
Damn! We weren't fast enough. They must have come by to cover their tracks.
I look at the floor, trying to see, is there no evidence at all, no traces at all of this symbol that was painted there? Anything that might help support our case that there was actually something here? Because otherwise we will look like we are crazy or very much lying.
Roll a perception check.
14 under 43. 3 success levels.
You begin frantically looking around the room. There must be something. And yes, there you go. Yeah, there's a little bit of red. A little bit of a red stain. Just there. Very hard to see. Very insignificant. And you know that it was there. This is proof you're not crazy. But you can already see the guards rolling their eyes and beginning to head off. One of them says, "Right, you three. Well, I'll tell you what. I can't be fucking bothered to take you all the way back to the magistrate. That was a very funny story. Good Schafferfest joke. Just try and stay out of fucking trouble." And they all start leaving, except the older guard. He stays. He gives you a bit of an awkward look, Siegfrieda, and looks at the ground, and he says, You're not lying. You don't lie. You wouldn't lie. So what does this mean? What does it mean?
I point to the spot where the paint was. This is the only thing that remains. It's not enough, I know, but we aren't crazy and we aren't lying.
No, I know you're not. Siegfrieda wouldn't lie. She can't. I'll lead you back up. Keep your heads down. Think to yourself this. Where are we? Think that. Where are we? What do you say to that? He seems to be gesturing with his finger upwards. Where are you? Well, it would occur to you, Kruger, that you're underneath something. Somewhere.
Yes, indeed we are. The ram's head symbol is still there, right?
That is gone. It seems that was painted on the floor as well.
Huh. There was a ram's head here before. But that wouldn't have anything to do with where we are, right? Do you know where we are? What is above us?
No, I didn't know you're smart, Siegfried. You're a smart doctor, aren't you?
Not hardly a doctor yet, no. And orienteering has never really been my strong suit either, but the ram's head we knew was a symbol for the Merchants Guild. I think before we depart, it could well be an opportunity for us to check this room for chambers, for tunnels, for loose stonework. It still seems strange to me that this room might have been built in isolation.
Well, it won't have been, lass. Of course not. It's a basement.
Well, my point, exactly. We have the time, we're not being hounded by a many-mouthed, many-tongued, many-eyeballed beast anymore, so why not explore? If all the rest of the guards want to depart, then that's fine, and I nod at the old man and say, and if you are happy to stay, then we appreciate it.
You do? Aye, lass, of course I'll stay. If you want me to.
Well, we need a witness to what we are doing here, otherwise, once again, it's us versus the magistrate, who seems to lack any sense of reason or reasonability.
Well, lass, I overheard the conversation. You went in and started demanding things of him.
Oh, don't you reprimand me for that as well. We were owed coin, and gods know we've been cheated out of enough of it.
The old guard looks very sheepish and just sort of skulks off.
20,000 gold crowns, I say to myself, and I begin looking around the room, just trying to identify, well, if I was trying to hide a secret entrance, or if I was trying to hide some kind of secret compartment where I would put my loot that I had taken, where would I put it?
Roll a perception check.
19 under 43. That is 3 success levels.
You spend the next 20 minutes analysing every single rock, every single stone in this room. It is irritating and boring. But, finally, in the left-hand corner, you notice there is there's something there. There's a light line. There is a line in the wall. You found it. This is definitely something.
I'll begin investigating that and then look to Heinrich, who seemed like he was about to make some kind of point.
I was only going to ask if you need assistance, but it seems that Nolan has treated you well, so I'll just follow behind.
I point to what I've found. What do you think, Heinrich?
I don't know where it goes, and I'm not a gambling man, but if I were, I would say this leads to the ladder that leads to the illicit parties that rich merchants have, and, well, might not be 10,000 gold crowns, but it's certainly an adventure, huh?
It certainly is. Now the question is how to get this open.
You give it a push and realize the answer is extremely, extremely difficult. Because you're pretty sure you can feel a lock on the other side. If this is a secret door, you think you're on the side you're not supposed to be able to open.
Ah, indeed. And there's no way of accessing the lock from this side then, I suppose.
No. Normally these sort of secret doors are very secure and designed to only be open one way, you think to yourself normally.
What if we were to try to bust it down? What would happen then, I wonder? Like, investigating the makeup of this door, the materials used, would violence be able to allow us to force this open, or would that just be a bunch of noise and time wasted?
Noise and time wasted. You think maybe if you had 7-8 good men, a bunch of chisels, maybe some explosive materials, then of course you could get a wall down, but it takes you about 5 minutes of just knocking on the door to realize this is a very secure stone secret passage. If you open it from one end, it will open immediately. From the other end, it would take an awful lot of boys, an awful lot of time to make anything at all, and it would be very noisy.
I look to Siegfried and Heinrich. I don't know how to get it up from this side. I think that we need to find where what is above us? Just like our friend here says, what is it that's above? And try to access that from street level instead. We're not getting in this way, but we do know that there's a secret passage. And that's something.
I agree.
We did say we wanted to root out a chaos cult one way or another, and we've already done some breaking and entering here in Bogenhafen, so I just look towards the ceiling and, I don't know, wonder what might be up there, but all the same, I'm on board for it.
We're making progress, I say, and I put on a forced smile.
Progress towards what?
A chaos cult, perhaps. Yeah. Well, we need to try to get some kind of an idea of what is above, right? So we need to maybe trace our steps back if we can somehow estimate the amount of, distance we've traveled. Somehow map this out. I don't know. It feels like it's going to be difficult. We traveled for like an hour.
The older guard nods. Aye. Listen, you three, let's get you up on the surface. Close this off for now. No point just rummaging about down here like this. But I think it's the Turaberg district. I reckon we're somewhere under there. I think.
Yes, are there any buildings of note in that district?
Aye, several. Lass. Guard barracks, the Jewelers Guild, Physicians Guild, Tailors and Weavers Guild, the Wolf's Tail Inn, and a couple of warehouses. The Steinheiger have some. The Tegan have some as well. Aye.
What about this warehouse where the goblin was found? Would that be in that district?
He looks and starts thinking to himself. No, that was north of the river.
Well, that's a shame.
I could tell you who said he found it. You could talk to him. Remember, I believe you. I believe you, lass. I know you don't care about me.
Let's hang back a while and we will chat as my companions forge on ahead.
Yes, we begin heading back then to street level.
I don't know when the appropriate time to interject this is, but would I be able to use navigation to count steps and try to keep my bearing? That way, once we're on the surface, I could have a better sense of which exact building we need to be heading towards?
Of course you could. In fact, that is exactly the skill you would use.
36... under 39.
I can tell you now that isn't the best success. Sadly, but it is a success.
At least if I can get down to like a block, maybe?
With that roll, you think if you were to go to the surface and begin tracing steps, you might be able to find the district. But then it would be tricky with all the actual buildings and streets. But with that roll, you think you'd be able to at least be in the right vague area.
I'm tempted to re-roll it just to see what happens.
You could spend a fortune.
I may as well, I've got some to spare. Okay, same question, but what if it's a 15 for 2 success levels?
You might be able to work out a building. You're really thinking hard as you start walking out of the sewers and heading to the exit. You're really trying to memorize the directions you're going in, and you think maybe you could locate a building. Maybe. But you would need to actually be up there doing it.
Of course, yeah, and I'm not going to beat a 15, and I don't want to leave Heinrich thinking hard for too long, because then it'll start smoking, but I will keep that in my back pocket.
Meanwhile, Sigfrido, you're with this guard. He's looking at you very awkwardly as he leads you back to the exit. What do? You don't actually have to say anything to him, and you don't think he's going to speak to you.
Takes a while for me to find the right words. Is my mother still alive?
He takes in a very heavy breath. No, lass. Of course not.
Of course not. I'm supposed to know this?
Of course, you should. She died the day you left. That's why the doctor took you in.
I try and do the mental calculations, try and find any kind of memory of this event.
Very difficult. You remember nothing. Your earliest memories are with that man. And everything he told you that happened.
Yeah, there was no me being taken away on a cart, shouting, "Mummy, Daddy," as they were there holding each other, like is performed in so many theatres across Middenheim. I chew my lip, realising we're having this deep and personal conversation in a sewer. Before carrying on, did I have any brothers and sisters?
No, your mom died, and the doctor took you because he was going to train you to be the doctor. And I don't get it, Siegfried. What do you mean you're not a doctor yet? He was going to train you to be a doctor.
For one thing, he wasn't a very good teacher. But more importantly, even if he was, it takes a long time to become a physician. For the first years of my life with him, I was more or less just mopping up stains, cleaning bottles, and occasionally having to weigh organs, but there wasn't any learning to it. It was menial. It was only when I learned to read, which wasn't something he taught me, I can assure you of that, beyond labels on bottles.
He looks at you and just stops and looks horrified. Like, actually horrified every time you say anything.
I shut up, seeing how horrified he looks.
Siegfried, sweeping floors? Sweeping fucking floors! No!
Well, I mopped more than I swept, but yes,
He said he was gonna take care of you! Give you everything you needed!
Take care, and you just believed him on what? Did you know this? Did you know Dr. Dunkirk Claverman?
No. What do I didn't have a choice! There was no choice, Siegfried!
There was no choice but to send me away. Literally send me out of Bogenhafen. Not put me with a family or an apprenticeship. It didn't even have to be to become any kind of medical professional. You know,
He was a rich doctor. Is it better than starving to death? We were gonna...
And how much coin did you get for me?
Nothing. He waived the fee. What are you talking about? Did it sell you?
So, all this time I've been all but convinced that you palmed me off to Claverman because of greed, and it would be fairer to describe it as stupidity.
No, we couldn't afford the treatment. Your ma, she couldn't afford it. She died, and he said if he was gonna make me pay, and he'd take us to the house, to the gallows, and.
So there we have it. I was given to this man to settle a bill.
Aye, he said if he's looking for someone to train, and if he did that, he wouldn't send you to the gallows.
Well, that certainly marries up with the Claverman that I knew.
But I didn't want to do it, Siegfried. It was the end of me. It ruined our lives, but I thought I'd spare you and you'd live a good... And you're telling me he had you wiping floors?
Well, I'll save you the gory details, because obviously in those conditions I had to do a lot worse than just mopping floors. But, yes, it was not a childhood well lived, I'm afraid. I catch myself before addressing him as father there, although the temptation did exist. I had to do a lot to earn my keep, and when I didn't do what he said, I was punished for it, and it was thoroughly unpleasant. It's not a childhood I would wish on many individuals, but at least I can be comforted by the fact that on most nights I slept with a roof over my head, on most days he fed me something, and that over time, because of his feckless nature and his increasing laziness as he got older, I had access to his books, his medicines, his patients, and was able to, I guess, rise above the conditions he and I suppose you had put me in. But as I said, I lied last night. Of course, I resent that I was denied any kind of normal childhood. And I resent you for putting me in that position.
The man growls a little under his breath. His eyes begin tearing up. He begins just stalking forward, saying, "Of course you do, Secreta. I'm nothing. I swear to you, though, I'll find him and I'll kill him. I'll fucking kill him! I'll fucking kill him!"
Calm down.
No! You were supposed to live, and you're telling me your life's been ruined! I was supposed to ruin my life to save you!
Listen, I'm not taking another step in this damn sewer until you lower your voice and start speaking calmly. I'm not impressed by this chest beating. And it doesn't suddenly make me love you or respect you that you want to open the throat of a man who tormented me for close to 2 decades. I appreciate the sentiment, but that job is already done. He's dead. It's not your responsibility, just as I haven't been your responsibility for the better part of my life.
He nods. He groans. He just begins walking forwards.
I think there's only one thing I do have left to say to you. For now, anyway. And that is, while I did lie last night and say that I didn't resent any and all that, and of course I did. And when I think back to the life I could have had, of course I'm envious of people like my companions that I spend time with now. I have a great deal of affection for them, although I don't necessarily show it in a normal way, but the excitement in Heinrich's life, his head is so in the clouds. He's so committed to his own fame and grandeur and success that he sometimes seems oblivious to the horror around him. And then you've got Kruger, who's been surrounded by family, it seems, and friends of family, extended family, for so long that it's been a blessing to actually encounter them. And so it does feel like my life is now beginning in a healthier way, despite the fact I'm in a sewer and encountered a chaos creature yesterday. That is somehow better. And so, with all that said, because I realise that we're inhaling some incredibly nasty fumes that will start rotting your insides after a time, I can accept why you did what you did. Of course I'm unhappy about it, but that doesn't mean I don't understand it. And I understand why you did what you did. If you had no way of supporting me, and there was a man who promised that I would be taught and looked after, then yes, no wonder. But perhaps, if you were to live again, if there is any lesson to be learned from this, if you ever get a second chance at life and another child, or Well, age may be defeating you there, but just think what you could have perhaps achieved by coming to visit me once. Just once. I don't expect you to be a man of letters. I didn't expect any written correspondence, but the fact that I never saw you or my mother, who I had no idea was dead, that no one from Bogenhafen ever reached out.
He forbade it. He said if I tried, he'd have you flogged.
And that didn't give you the impression that he may have been a harsh taskmaster?
I didn't know what to do.
Well, I'm not trying, as much as it may sound otherwise, I'm not trying to put you through a mangle right now. I know that you feel bad. I can see and hear that you do.
I ain't lived a day. When you were gone, I ain't lived a day without drink. I ain't lived. It don't matter. I'm going to do as you say, and I'm going to help you and your friends. I believe you, Siegfried. I'll die for you. You don't need to give me any more time. I don't deserve it. And he just walks off, and you realize your conversation has come to an end as you are being led up the ladder again. And so, Kruger and Heinrich, you notice, after a little pause, Siegfried and that guard come up. It seems like they were having a very long conversation behind you. But all three of you are on the streets of Bogenhafen. And Heinrich, you have a sense in the air that you think you know where you want to go. The question is, what do you do next?
I will at this point have communicated my plan with Kruger, but I think Kruger is also smart enough to know that as we're leaving and I'm counting the steps one by one, and every time he tried to say something, I waved him off. I was like 999, 1000, 1001. And when we finally arrive at the top, I will say with a great amount of pride in myself, I think I can get us exactly where we need to go.
That's amazing. Well, let's see if it actually works.
The guard comes forward and remarks, Alright, it's McGregor, by the way, Conrad McGregor. If you need me, I'll aid ye. I better get back. You folks, good luck with what you're doing. And if you find anything, you go to the town hall and report it.
Alright, thank you. Thank you for the help, and thank you for believing in us. It means a lot for our sanity, if nothing else.
The old guard turns and gives you a look, Siegfried. It's a look of shame. What do you do?
As much as I'm discomforted by it, I'm not going to wrap him in a tight embrace or anything like that, but I will, providing he doesn't recoil from me, put one hand on either shoulder and look up to him.
You look just like your mother.
I'm alive, aren't I? So, regardless of everything else, I'm here now, and you're still around to see it. So, maybe we should both take comfort in that.
He tries to hide his tears, nods, and just walks off. And so, the three of you are on the streets of Bogenhafen. Heinrich, do you wish to try and find your building?
There's nothing else in the world I want to do more right now.
Then, you will begin leading the others through the streets of Bogenhafen. As I said, it is difficult because up here there's lots and lots of streets. But you persevere. You keep mentally in your head, tracing back your steps, counting the steps. Where did you go? Left, right? Is it through that alley? Is it through that building? And finally, you find yourself in a warehouse district. And you are facing a large 2-story building with a big thatched roof, lots of skulls on the outside, imperial skulls of course, and a big sign saying Steinhauger offices, with several guardsmen at several doors. And this appears to be, you think, roughly, maybe somewhere in the vicinity of that basement. You think to yourself. You're not 100% sure, but this is your best guess.
Well, friends, if I have counted my steps correctly, and I do believe I can count, this is the place. Do either of you know this agency, this establishment, the name on the store?
You would, Siegfrieda. Steinhager, one of the 4 main merchant families of the city.
I express as much. Well, this would make sense, Steinhager. One of the merchant families, why we saw one of the mercantile symbols down in that storeroom.
Was that their symbol? It wasn't, right?
No, it is not their symbol. It's the symbol you saw on that card. You haven't actually discussed what that symbol means yet.
No, I still have the card. I assumed it was just the symbol for the Merchants Guild, in general, rather than a family symbol, but if it isn't, then yeah, we may need to ask an expert.
And so, the 3 of you stand outside this building, contemplating your next move. Meanwhile, Bogenhafen is alive all around you. The Schaufenfest clearly continuing and being enjoyed by everyone.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this first part of the series, we are tackling Book 1, Enemy in Shadows. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julián, Camilla, Bob Lange, Julián, Cameron, Xabier, and Antxon for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as the champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, Skaven are definitely not real.